Hey there, ladies, gents, and everybody in between. This is Wolfie. As you can hear, I'm very emotional. I just finished the third episode of The Last of Us, and oh boy, Tessa's episode hit me, but this one hit me so hard. Oh, this was such a good episode. This was a beautiful episode, and I know that from the promotions, a lot of people were saying that this was the episode that really got them, and I'm like, ooh, what's gonna happen in this one? And then when we found out that this was gonna be Bill's episode, I'm like, oh, but wait, but what are they gonna do in Bill's episode that's gonna be so hard hitting if Tessa's episode was as hard hitting as it was? I assumed that Tessa's episode was gonna be 3 from the way people were talking, but it ended up not being. And now I get it. Now I get it. Oh, God, this episode was beautiful. But all right, let me stop rambling. Let me start from the top. I loved that we got, literally, this was legit Bill's episode. Bill and Frank's episode. So if anyone who's familiar with the game, Bill is another survivor that you come into contact with when Joel's looking to get a vehicle to go to see his brother, to bring Ellie to his brother. But so as far, if I remember correctly, for this one, he was trying to get her to Bill so that Bill can take her himself, not so that he could drop Ellie off with Bill and be gone. So obviously that didn't happen. But man, this episode has given me so many emotions. It's so hard to really process it all in a packaged thing, but I loved that we did open it up a little bit, just with starting off with the characters you already know. So you start off with Joel and Ellie, and they're walking and all that. I'm glad that one of the things they did with the show that they didn't do in the game was that they made Joel's character more tame. If I can explain that. So where in the game he was just, and this is one of the reasons why I hate him, full gun-ho, no emotion, blah 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 bullshit. And but in this episode he's actually much softer. So he answers her questions. He was being sensitive to her seeing the more or less grave site of all those innocent people, and he wanted to shield her from it. So he's already starting to take on that caretaker mentality, which I prefer. That if they have to write him any other way, I prefer him to be that way. So, and then Ellie went and did she did her white girl shit and went and explored, which she shouldn't, but thankfully the fucking infected that she saw was trapped, so she was good. She didn't get herself into any kind of scrape. But I'm like, why little white girls always gotta be always gotta do this, always. But you know how it is. You can't fight the trope. The trope is always there. Seeing that part with her going crazy about the Mortal Kombat little arcade machine, I was like, yes, bitch, yes. I'm glad that they were Mortal Kombat. Fucking love Mortal Kombat. I've been playing that shit since way before I should have been. And seeing her nerd out about it, and when she talked about Melina having that brought me back. That definitely put the connection, because in the video game, it's this original video game that they made up for Ellie to be getting kind of into. So the fact that they gave a video game that most of us played when we were kids, when we shouldn't have, or more or less most of us ever played. Yeah, I love that they did that. That shit was cool and cute. But now let's get to the juicy part. So when we get to see Bill, I was dying of laughter because he's in his bunker, he's watching everybody leave, and as soon as he comes about, he sees literally the whole town's evacuated. He's like a kid at Christmas. He went crazy about it. He's like, hell yeah, man. He's like, he's a survivalist. So this was his survivalist passions finally coming to light. And I love that. That shit had me dying. So you see him going around, ransacking the town, gathering everything. Now, one thing that I noticed, I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong about this, but I think that this town, the set for the town, I think it's the same, if just not similar to the one that they use in The Walking Dead. So, it's been years. I haven't watched The Walking Dead since like season 8 or 9. So, it's been a very long time. But they had that town where Rick and them ended up settling at, and like for a while, for like I think for a couple of seasons, if I'm not mistaken. But the town, like, so that town looks very similar to the one that they used here. So I'm wondering if that was the same one, like if the set is the same. I mean, because yeah, I'm sure they saved more money using an old set. That would have been pretty cool. I mean, technically, it's not HBO's old set since it was AMC who owns The Walking Dead. But I'm just saying, I'm digressing. Point is, town looked familiar. It looked nice though. Anyway, the traps were hilarious. Seeing Bill, like, monitoring the little traps that he set up, and seeing that one infected get knocked down, and he's just like, I'm like, I love Bill. I loved Bill in the damn game. I love him even more in the fucking show. So then, again, fast forward, he meets the little man inside the hole, who ends up being Frank. Now, I love that they did this. I absolutely love that they did this because, we never get to meet Frank alive in the game. So, like, and anybody who isn't knows that when Bill said he was his partner, that he was talking about his boyfriend. So if anybody knew that Bill was gay and that Frank was his partner. So but Frank was already dead in the game, so you never got to meet him. And that whole segment was really sad and fucked up. I always felt really bad that Bill ended up having that backstory with Frank, but I loved how they changed it up completely. This was brilliant decision making. Absolutely brilliant. I'm very, like, yes, am I a little sad that we didn't get to see, like the Ellie and Bill interactions that we got in the game? Yes. Or am I sad we didn't get that tripwire scene and where he's like, she's trying to save Joel while he's like hanging and shooting? Yes. I'm sad that we didn't get those certain scenes that comes with Bill's Town, because Bill's Town is like it's a pretty much a fan favorite area. So yes, am I sad that we didn't get some of those scenes and stuff? Yeah, but I could live without them. I got them in a video game. What do I care? I like adaptations that keep the spirit of the show the same, but has no problem making it its own thing. So I personally love that they went this route. So we basically get to see the love story of Frank and Bill throughout the years. And I think it's 20 years or something like that. Yeah, 20 years. So Bill meets him 4 years after the apocalypse had kicked off, and then they spent the rest of their lives together. And it was just like, and then like and to see, like, I love that scene where he brings out the wine, and then Bill's like, yeah, I know I don't look like the type, and Frank was like, no, you do. and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be cute. And I was right. I love the fact that Frank was his first and all that stuff. Like, my two lovely bears, I love them. They're adorable. They were so goddamn cute. And then the scene where Frank is just like, he's like, I want us to have friends. I'm like, of course, a fucking gay dude. All gay dudes. We need to have friends. We don't go out. Like, come on, guys. I'm like Bill. I don't need nobody. Like, distance is fine by me. So I get how Bill felt. And of course, but that, that's how it always is. You got to have that couple where the one person is just very introverted and the other person is very extroverted. Those are the yin and yang episodes, like couples. Those yin and yang. That's why those tend to work. It's because you have that dynamic. And so, and that's how, like, because I always wondered, like, how did Tess and Joel even meet these two? Well, that's how, at least in this universe, that's how. um so I love that they did that. They kind of elaborated that, like, well, this is how they met. And they ended up being kind of like couple friends, and I like that shit was cool. And it was good to see Tess one more time. And so that it's put out there, yeah, let's take a moment to show some respect to the original the person who originally played Tess, Annie, or Annie, I'm not sure, I might be saying it wrong, but she passed away today, actually. um and that shit just sucks. It really fucking sucks. She died of cancer. As far as I know, there's a bunch of GoFundMe links on Twitter. If you can donate to her family, I definitely recommend please doing so. She was a great actress. I I I loved her, not just as Tess, but I loved her in The Rookie. She plays like this really awesome villain in The Rookie, and it was fantastic. She blew minds with that. I never watched 24, but I know most people know her from 24. I never watched Timeless, but I know most people know her from Timeless and Bosch or something like that. But she's also in Star Trek, which, W. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. Rest in peace to her. I hate that she had to lose her battle with cancer. That shit fucking sucks. Cancer sucks. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I put that in there. But yeah, so I totally went off tangent. Anyway, we got to see how they met. We got to see all of this, and then we get to the parts that really start to hit with the episode. So if I'm not mistaken, Frank gets ALS. At least from what I can tell from how they were describing, like how they were just showing how his body was working. I'm like, that looks like ALS. So I think that's what it was. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like. But he was getting in more advanced stages. He was needing Bill's help to do everything, to do even the most minuscule things. There was a scene where he said it took him hours to just get into his chair, and he had done it overnight while Bill was asleep, while they had been sleeping and stuff. And I'm like, damn. So he tells Bill, like, this is my last day. Like, I get it. Like, he didn't want to keep going on like that. He didn't want to keep letting the last days, like, letting his dignity go, letting Bill have to look after him all that time. Like, he wanted to cut it for the both of them. Just cut the cord for the both of them, and I get it. Like, I definitely get it. And so he asks Bill to grant a few wishes for him on their last day together, and to help him, assisted suicide. And I'm still feeling it. I'm still feeling it. That, yeah. So Bill, refuses at first, but eventually, you can't say no to the person you love. It's very hard. No, that's my dog. But yeah, you can't say no to the person you love. And so they have their day. They get married. Like, love wins, bitch. Love wins. And they have dinner, they have wine or whatever have you. And then, so Frank had asked him, crush up all my pills and put them in a thing of wine. Let me drink the wine. Let's go to bed and just let that be it. So they go ahead. They go about the routine. And come to find out that Bill had spiked not just Frank's cup of wine, but the bottle in its entirety. So I think he said it was enough to take out a horse or something like that. So in that, Bill is telling him, okay, if you go, I'm going too. Like, you were my source of survival. You were the point, my purpose. And he was happy. He was like, if this like, he's like, pretty much like, without you I'm not going to be happy, so why am I gonna just let you go, and I'm not gonna go with you. And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, they're gonna do this to me? Don't do this to me. And they did. So Bill and Frank commit suicide together, and they go together, and that shit hurt so much. I'm like, this is beautiful and sad and beautiful, and I that was well done. It was very well done. The whole thing was just absolutely gorgeous from start to finish. I absolutely fucking adored it. Of course, that wasn't the very end of the episode, but like that, at that point, like, I had to pause for a second, because I'm like, because that shit hit really good. So then I'm guessing they fast forward a while, and then Joel and Ellie show up, and they, you know, they can see that there's no signs of life or what have you. And while Joel was investigating the house, trying to find out where Bill is, Ellie finds Bill's suicide letter, and she reads it to him. And so Bill left everything to Joel, everything he had to Joel. And with that, Joel and Ellie gathered all the stuff, got themselves together, and are now gonna take off to go find his brother in Wyoming. And what I did really love about that scene is they did a shot for shot of the scene. It's later as far as in the game when they have this conversation. But yeah, but they have that whole conversation that happens like after Tess dies, like, you know, we don't talk about Tess, basically. And, you know, the first instance of evidence of how Joel is terrible at teaching Ellie how to deal with death. Again, I have nothing but negative feelings when it comes to Joel. But yeah, so now the next episode is them on the way there, and we're gonna get to see those instances where they come head to head with the Raiders. So, and then after that, we get Sam and Henry. So I'm gonna guess that, my guess anyway, is because it feels like it'll be too soon. I'm gonna guess that we're not gonna see Sam and Henry until episode 5, or maybe the end, around the end point of episode 4. Depends. Like, I don't know how long some of these episodes are longer than others. So I guess it just depends. But 4 or 5, we're coming across Henry and Sam, and I'm really nervous to see how that's going to be on screen. So the thing is, like, there's a lot of death in this show, because obviously it's a post-apocalyptic show. But I know that some people might be sensitive to the way that whole situation like plays out. Anyone who played the game knows how it plays in the game, but to see that on TV is going to be very different and a lot more sensitive, especially given the climate that we're in, the social climate that we're in. Me being a person of color, yes, I know that part is going to hit pretty hard, depending on how they go about it. But I'm also, so far they've been doing great. They've been doing fantastic. So hopefully it hits just as good. But yeah, I mean, this was just my little breakdown of it. But I loved this episode. I really fucking love this episode. I might even love it more than episode 2. And that's a hard act to follow, because I fucking loved episode 2. Episode 2 was a 10 out of 10 for me. And then this one is also a 10 out of 10 for me. I absolutely fucking loved it. So far the trajectory keeps going up. So until next week, I can't wait. Love wins.